What is up, everyone, and welcome to the last edition of the Mando pre-show for the Star Wars Stuff podcast. My name is David, of course, and I am all by myself. I have sent out invites to several people. Hopefully, they join. But yeah, this is it. This is the last episode of season 3. What is up, Mecca? So before we get started, I just want to thank all of our awesome patrons like Maka here. And there's been a little bit of a change. On the purple tier, we have Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Sean Greathouse, and Zach Netzel. On the red tier, we have Fenrir526, Maya Morris, and that's an error now. On the black tier, we also have Texas Vader 76, Maka Tawatala, Nathan Shank, Evan Opaker, and Liam McCallan. Thank you so much for all your love and support, everything you do for us. If you have any thoughts, any theories, any comments for what we could possibly see on tonight's episode, let me know, and let's talk about it. So I think one of the big questions that we will have answered tonight for sure is who is the other spy or spies? Is it the armor, or is Rick Famuyiwa, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni just kind of leading us off to something that's pretty much a diversion to who the actual spy is? I think the more popular choice, because it feels like the armor is right in our face and they're setting it up to make people think, okay, well, yeah, she conveniently flew out of the ambush by Moff Gideon in the last episode. She's never taken off her helmet. Could she be a character that we've seen in the past? Could she be Rook cast? Could she possibly be, some theories say maybe she could be Omega? I mean, you don't know. She hasn't taken off her helmet. And she has those little bitty horns on her helmet. What does that mean? Does that mean anything? Is that another right in your face clue that maybe she's like a Mandalorian? She's someone that's aligned with Maul and his crew back in the day. Did she fabricate those Beskar suits for Moff Gideon? I mean, I think this is the big question that's going to be answered tonight. And joining us tonight, we have Craig Four coming in hot from Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
What is up, Craig Four?
Oof, being head of Lucasfilm is exhausting. I have to tell you. I have so many minions that are always asking me, honestly, a lot of stupid questions. I have this guy, let's just call him Matt, and he is so obnoxious. I'm not gonna. This guy is like a Martian, right? You could call him Matt Martian, and he is the worst. I had him in my office for a couple of minutes, and I regretted it immediately. That's all I'll say about that.
That is hilarious. Yeah, if you've been listening to the podcast, you kind of get what he's talking about. But there were some interesting people podcasting at Celebration. Celebration London was awesome. I know I've been kind of quiet about it. I've been trying to gather my thoughts on it. Craig didn't go, of course. A lot of people didn't go from the States. So it was kind of subdued in that sense.
Yeah.
But going over there for the first time, experiencing London, and just getting around and going to Celebration, experiencing that, it was pretty great. I really loved it. It went by way too fast, though. Way too fast. It was 4 days. I know Japan's going to be 3 days.
Really?
I
3 days. I wonder why.
Yeah, I imagine that's going to go by in a flash. I have no idea. No clue whatsoever. I hope the next one in the States is at least 4 or 5 days. Chicago was 5 days. And I think the rest of them were 4 days, I think.
I go 5 days. Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Was it Monday?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was 5 days.
Episode 1 panel was like the biggest disappointment ever. We're like, is Natalie Portman gonna show up? Is it gonna be Liam Neeson? It wasn't even anybody in the movie. It was like
Well, I
the
mean,
guy.
Ahmed Best was there.
Was Ahmad Bista? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, he got the really big ovation. Um,
I could barely keep myself awake at that point.
I think Anthony Daniels was there. Um, I can't remember. It's online. It's on YouTube. If anyone in chat can look it up, you can see exactly who's there.
We were so hyped. We're like, is it gonna be Ewan McGregor? Is it Natalie Portman?
Well, yeah, I mean, we all had that experience the 2017 when George Lucas and Harrison Ford and all of them showed up for the 40th. So we
Yeah.
thought it was maybe going to be a really big deal. So they had the 40th panel for Return of the Jedi. I didn't attend it, but I think that was kind of the same type of panel. I don't think anything or anyone. I think Mark Hamill had a video recording that they played on the screen, and they were referencing Mark Hamill like he was in the building, and people started buzzing, and it was a video message, so didn't really miss much there. And I think Ming Na Wen hosted that panel. And I think it
Mark
was
didn't even say anything this year about not going to Celebration. Like the
yeah.
last time he said, I'll be there in spirit or whatever, but this time he didn't say anything. I kind of am wondering, worried that he has some health issues going on.
Well, he's starting a new film with um, what's that guy's name? That comedian
Oh,
Burt Kreischer, The
how
Machine. Yeah.
how was that?
I haven't seen it yet. I don't think it's been released yet, but the trailer's out, and he seems pretty spry. So I'm not sure
I
if
thought
he
that was
does.
supposed to come out a while ago.
They filmed it a while ago. They filmed it like in some Eastern Bloc country in Europe, like Romania or Bulgaria or something like that. So yeah, I think that's where he was at some point when there was another big convention happening. Maybe it was Celebration. I don't know, but I think it was Celebration. Actually, it was Anaheim. He was out
Mm.
of the country, so yeah, he was filming that at the time. So yeah, what are your predictions for tonight? Do you have any? Do you just want to like go with the flow?
Okay, so here's my predictions, and unfortunately, some other people wound up finding this out. But Brian, who we met at Celebration, I
Yes.
told him this the day after the last episode, before anybody had figured it out. Actually, my girlfriend was really good about this because she was. I said to her, "What do you think? What do you think about the season finale?" She thought that Carson, the X-wing, she was like, "Who's the X-wing pilot?" He's been the one throughout the whole season that's investigated and been kind of the thread for everything all along. And I was like, "That's actually a great point," and it's true. In season 2, there were hints all along the season that Luke was going to show up, right? And I think the hint in this one is that Carson is going to show up with at least Zeb, but probably the ghost with Chopper and Hera. That's my prediction. And now some other people have said it too, but honestly, like I had that prediction the day after the last episode.
Yeah. What's up, Jorge? What's up, fellas? You guys just liking the season 2? I don't think it's the best season. I think it's probably the least liked season.
It's my
But
least favorite. And I'm not trying to be negative about it because I still love the show, but man, this season just
in comparison to season 1 and 2, yeah, it really doesn't hold a candle. But I
it's
mean,
too much focused on like building a society with Mandalorians, and that's just kind of like not that interesting. At least it hasn't been interesting.
so you rather see just Din Djarin going on adventures with Grogu every episode, like kind of like in season 2?
Kind of more like that with some
Yeah.
checking in with the Mandalorians and helping out along the way. Maybe more like he's got to go off and do things to help them, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I don't know. It's just it's been a little bit flat for me.
Right. And they have the disadvantage now of leading to a certain place in storytelling, because we all know that Dave Filoni is going to do that climactic event film in theaters, which is awesome. But now they got to start getting to that spot. All these shows are going to lead up where they're going to like go to a single point and everyone's going to meet up. But what you were saying earlier, I do think that there's going to be a lot like the Rohirrim with Gandalf in the Two Towers. I think there's going to be a big cavalry charge, and it might be Boba Fett. It might be Cobb Vanth. I mean, there might be a lot of people showing up in this episode to save the day. Might be
I
Carson
think the
Teva.
most sense mean would be the Ghost with Zeb and Hera and them and the X-wing squadron.
I think you're onto something, Craig.
That's what I think.
It might be a very, very huge Rebels episode.
It would make the most sense because number one, we've seen Zeb. Number two, Carson has literally moved the story along this entire season. He helped in find the Mandalorians. He helped find the ship, the shuttle with Moff Gideon. He went to Coruscant and didn't trust what's her name, the spy. So he's really moved the season along. And so it makes the most sense that he's going to show up with to investigate or to help and have the ghost. And then that's the big thing that makes everybody go crazy is Hera and Chopper and Zeb in the finale. And I mean, they're all going to be in Ahsoka in what, 3-4 months or whatever it is. So that to me makes the most sense. Though I'd love to see Luke or Boba Fett show up. I don't feel like it's going to happen, but I mean, that'd be great if it did.
I think Luke is showing up in the movie. I'm not quite sure they're maybe saving him now for the cinematic thing. Martin here says someone pointed out on TikTok that in the beginning credits during the Star Wars intro with all the different helmets and droid heads, we see the armor's helmets with blue light and Mando's helmet as red. Yeah. To speak to that, I thought in the past in the intros we've seen good guy helmets and heads with the red lightsaber crossing over them, and I'm like, okay, well that means nothing then. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, there could be something to that. I've kind of questioned that the armor's been the spy all week myself. Um, would I be surprised? No. She, but I don't think she's gonna be a spy.
Yeah, Maka says a lot of people say axe woves. I tend to agree with that because if you remember that last episode, he bailed out of the battle too. He went up in that hole. He jetpacked out of there. So.
Um, it it kind of makes sense, but here's my thing about that. If it was gonna be Axe, I think they would have made him a little bit more fit. Sorry, my cat's making a mess back there. Formidable against Paz when they fought. I think it would have been more like him showing like a more like I don't know, domineering kind of side to himself in that fight.
Jorge says what I
That's just
don't get is that some of the episodes feel like almost a Star Wars commercial. I also feel bad for fans that haven't seen the animated shows. Well, I know a lot of people are kind of trying to figure out why the season is playing out the way it is. And one of the big reasons, one of the big differences about this season in comparison to 1 and 2, Dave Filoni's really not there all that much. During this time, he was doing Ahsoka stuff. So maybe Dave Filoni is really the key there to the actual Mandalorian, Din Djarin, and Grogu storytelling. And
you could be on something for sure. I kind of think a few things happen. I think maybe they were gonna have Grogu training with Luke this season, and Kathleen was like, "No, Grogu's got to be in the show. He's too popular," and that messed up the story point, and that's why they think they did the episodes with Book of Boba Fett. But also, I think because they didn't do that one show with the what was the squadron or what was
Rangers of the New Republic.
Rangers. I think because they didn't do that because of what happened with Cara Dune there, I think that kind of messed up where they were going with stuff too. So I think we had a couple things going on with that.
Yeah, I mean, one kind of has to wonder, was there like an executive mandate to put Grogu back in ASAP? Which you would figure that everyone wants Grogu back some way, somehow, as soon as possible. Um, Martin says the red is also on Vader, Scout Trooper type fighter pilot. Yeah, that is interesting. I think we pointed that out a few episodes back that the Mando helmet, which does look like Din Djarin's, has a red blade going across it. And
Does anybody think Bo Katan is going to die? I don't think so, but
nah, I don't think anyone thinks
it
Bo-Katan's
feels
gonna
too. It
die.
feels like it would be too soon.
Yeah.
I don't know, but some of these people are putting things up that make it seem like it's going to be kind of depressing.
Yeah, I know Brendan Wayne had that quote that we're going to be sad by the time, in so many words, I'm paraphrasing, we're all going to be kind of in a way when, pardon the pun, when the episode ends. So it's either something happens with Din Djarin, he loses a hand, loses an arm, gets mind flayed, forgets about Grogu altogether, possibly.
That I could see happening.
We see maybe Grogu shot in the chest, and he has his Mudhorn signet to protect him. And I mean, it could be that old Clint Eastwood trope that we've seen. Um, I forget the name of the movie, but we saw it like play out in Back to the Future 2 when Biff's watching the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he goes, "Bulletproof vest."
I think that Grogu could help Din remember, just like Luke did to Grogu. 38 minutes. Yeah, how disappointing is that?
Yeah, I'm not as hung up on the time. Thanks for the comment there, Darth Things. 38-minute runtime with recap credits plus a likely end credit scene. That's going to be a lot to work in. Um, yeah, the runtimes are very disappointing to most fans. But it's just the way the Mandalorian runs, really. I think with budget and everything else considering, we all think of Disney having unlimited cash, but there's always a budget. They have multiple shows running. They want to do more shows. They're going to do films, and this is really kind of a test ground per se. I know you don't want to hear that, but I mean, there's only so much they want to invest. If you look at the Obi-Wan show, they invested the least amount, and then you look at the Andor show, they invested, I think, the most amount of money in that. So yeah, it's all strategy. I think we've gotten a lot of cinematic stuff in the Mandalorian, and it plays well on screens. We've seen it at Celebration. I got to see the first 6 minutes of the Spies episode, and it looked like we were watching a movie played on a 4K projector. It was pretty nice, really, really nice. Um, Jorge says no. She seems to be the protagonist. I wouldn't be surprised if Din dies. That's another rumor that's out there that's very, very curious to me. If Pedro Pascal just totally gets up and goes and leaves, that puts several people out of a job technically, because you look at the three people that play Din Djarin, it's Pedro Pascal, who mainly does the voice, sometimes suits up, Lateef Crowder, who does all the martial arts and the stunt work, and Brendan Wayne, who does all the kind of strutting and walking shots, if you
Yeah,
want to
but they
say.
would probably use them for other stuff. It's not
Right,
like
right,
they
exactly. Just
people
like
up.
Tate Fletcher. Tate Fletcher was kind of the bully in the bar in the
Mhm.
cantina in the first episode, and then he came back to be in the Paz Vizsla suit, which we all know was voiced by John Favreau in seasons 1 and 2. But there's conflicting reports that Tate Fletcher did the voice for Paz Vizsla this season alone, but he sounds just like John Favreau.
It sounds, yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't make it.
So are they taking his voice and putting it through Respeecher software to make it? I mean, what's
Maybe
happening
that's
there?
what they're doing.
Possibly, it's weird. Um, and I've had multiple people try to correct me. No, that's Tate Fletcher. It sounds just like John Favreau,
To me,
man.
it sounds identical.
It's almost indistinguishable. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of differentiation, but I mean, it sounds like John Favreau to me, man. So
I really wish he had killed that last Portarian, the one that he had his hand around his throat.
yeah, that would have been pretty hard there. um, yeah, going back to what Jorge says, I wouldn't be surprised if Din dies. So that is kind of a popular rumor going around that, and a popular theory that maybe Din does leave. And I mean, that would bring up more speculation to maybe are those rumors true about Pedro Pascal being unhappy and not showing his face? But then again, you look at all the season finales, Pedro Pascal takes the helmet off. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get to see Pedro Pascal in this episode because every other season
Well,
finale,
Moff
he's
Gideon could take the helmet off
very easily, yes, very
and be
easily.
like, yeah.
Yeah, what's that interrogation scene going to be like? Is he going to get tortured a la Han and Cloud City? Are we going to see his face? Probably, yeah. What's
Now,
going to
do you
happen?
think? I mean, Moff Gideon. I mean, he's pretty evil. But Din did spare his life the first time around or the last time around. So
Yeah.
maybe he'll give him that courtesy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who is Moff Gideon? Is he a Mandalorian? Is he a wannabe Mandalorian? Is he force sensitive? Who is Moff Gideon exactly? I mean,
Yeah, but Jorge, the thing about Pedro is that if you know anything about The Last of Us, he ain't gonna be around for long in season.
spoilers.
I mean, so that ain't the problem. It's not like season 2 he's gonna be playing that part the way he was.
Do you think maybe they might do something tonight in the finale where they make us think he dies, but he doesn't, and they do that whole kind of trope and cliche thing? He didn't die. He's back.
Um, if anything, I feel like he just won't get rescued.
So he's
That
taken
Moff
away.
get him away or something like that,
He's imprisoned in the catacombs of Mandalore, maybe.
or he's frozen in carbonite.
Ooh. And stuck like in a big old like array of a bunch of people in carbonite. We see like George Lucas like stuck in one of them. Mecca says it'd be a huge shock if Din dies. Yeah, it would be
I
very
think.
shocking.
I don't think they're gonna kill him.
Mecca says, what and a half hours do we see the Falcon?
I wish. It wouldn't make any sense in this season.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it would be. I would love to see Luke, but I don't think it would make. To me, it makes the most sense for the Ghost to show up.
The Ghost, yeah. That would make more sense. There'd be more synergy with all the other shows. I mean, Sabine, that would make a lot of sense as far as like shooting wise. They all shot in the same sets. Darth Dang says we didn't get nearly enough Gideon this season. Should have started building him up around episode 3. I agree with that. I think Giancarlo Esposito deserved more screen time, and I think he's maybe the highest caliber actor we have. If you think about it, I think he's one of the best living actors today. And I've said it so many times, but man, that dude's incredible. He goes to all these conventions and he
Yeah.
talks to the fans. He does the panels, big, small, medium. I got to meet him in London. It was awesome. I got an autograph and a photo with him, and he was really cool. There was I hope it's okay if I say this. But I was, and I'm not sure why it wouldn't be okay. You let me know, Craig. So I was in line to get the photo op. So there's like 4 people ahead of me. Um, and I think someone accidentally either drooled or spit on him, and he noticed it, and he went to one of his like people there, and they like cleaned him off right away, and they started wrestling around, and it was kind of funny, but you could tell like something ended up on his jacket or something, and I was like, oh man, maybe he saw some like spittle fly, but he cleaned that up, and then we a couple more people took pictures with him, and yeah, he every single time I saw Giancarlo Esposito in London take a picture, he had a different pose. Like he was ready. He has the whole like photo taking thing down. And the autograph signing too, he spent some good quality time with everyone.
Yeah.
There was enough people, enough celebrities from Star Wars signing to where he could do that. If he was like the main attraction, there'd be no way he could do that.
Yeah.
But he
Hayden
he
and
talked to everyone.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely talked to everyone, and he's awesome.
I gotta
I
say
love the dude.
though, my one of the things about celebration in Japan, I would think that it would really limit who's gonna go there. Celebrity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you figure being in a country where they don't speak English as their primary language, like London, like England, the UK. Um, a lot of Americans are hesitant to travel over there for that fact, but um, it'll be interesting. Maybe that's why it's 3 days, Craig. Maybe you just answered your question.
I don't know, but if you're gonna fly all the way there, wouldn't you want to stay a little bit longer?
Well, I think they figure people are going to do more of the sightseeing thing when they're in Japan. I mean, you want to definitely go to Tokyo and do the Fuji thing and that whole deal. Um, but
If our
yeah,
listeners going to Japan, chime in.
yeah. If anyone's going to Tokyo 2025, let us know. But the big question I have, Craig, are you going to Japan 2025?
Um, I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet. I just talked to my stepbrother about it a couple days ago, and he's interested in going. Um, but it's
Man, that's a really long flight for you guys.
yeah, yeah. We'd have. I mean, it would be rough. Well, probably like 17 hours, and
Oh,
how
wouldn't it be longer? Because if you start in Orlando, you'd have do fly from Orlando maybe to LAX, and then LAX to Japan is like 16 hours. So you'd have to do that flight in between.
that's brutal.
Yeah, yeah. 1 minute. No, no. Hold on. I said it wrong. 16 hours is LAX to New Zealand. Japan is a little shorter. I think it's 11 hours. I'm sorry.
I've never really had a huge desire to go to Japan, but I suppose if I was ever gonna go, this would be it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I had the same kind of thought and notion for London because I've never been to Europe. I've never tried to go. I've never had the want to go, but it's like Star Wars is there. If I don't go, I'm gonna regret it. Might as well go. And the trip was great. The trip was fun. It didn't disappoint. I felt good there. Aside from being exhausted at the end of each day, um, it was a cool experience. I loved it. I actually want to go back. I want to take my family maybe next year, do a big family trip, and I kind of know my way around and know kind of what to expect. So, yeah, Darth Thing says, yeah, he's pretty much top notch, referring to Giancarlo. Jorge says, "Do you guy?" I'm not sure what that means. Maka says, "I plan on going to Japan. Awesome, that would be great, man. We would probably have to buddy up." I think Colin is trying to go. I think he's pretty much as a deadlock as you can possibly be at this point. It's 2 years in the future.
Yeah.
His situation might be a whole lot, his life situation might be a whole lot different. I don't want to put his business out there, but I think
He
maybe
got
work.
caught in another men's room.
Yeah, I think he's a young man starting off in life, and yeah, that's all I'll say. Um, Jorge says, I have a theory that Tony Gilroy should be promoted to be with Filoni and Favreau. What do you guys think? I don't think Tony Gilroy wants that type of position. I think he wants to play in the sandbox. I don't think he wants to own the sandbox or own the toys. He just wants to come over like every Saturday and just kind of play a little bit. What do you think, Craig?
I don't see it happening, but I would love to see him do something with the two of them after.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, Andor is got to get finished first. But yeah,
Right,
I'd
right.
see him do something with those two. The writing's phenomenal.
So I think Evan's saying he's going to Japan too. Yeah, if you guys are going to Japan, we definitely have to maybe buddy up. So yeah, those are two of our top patrons there.
Is anybody
Um,
else from the show going to Japan?
I don't think any. Carl will probably go. Carl's was telling me because so Carl has a job now. He's in Milwaukee right now. He flies everywhere. He gets tons of mileage. I think he said something like by 2025 that whole flight might be free for him, and
Wow.
he might just fly first class. So That's definitely the way to go if you can do
Would they
that.
let Carl in first class?
He actually flew first class when we did the May the 4th in Disney World a couple years ago. So yeah, yeah, we were on different flights. Um, Eric says would love for Gilroy to get more love and given a chance at a bigger role. Um, I don't
I
know what
mean,
his plans
what
are.
bigger role? The man is doing his own show. It's pretty amazing too.
Yeah, yeah, it's the most critically acclaimed. He got a lot of love at Celebration. I love the fact that the fans showed him love at Celebration. He kind of got to see it. He commented on it. He's like, not many writers walk up on stage and get this type of ovation, and I'm glad for him to see it because I think that gives him that little extra boost. That okay, I'm doing this. People are watching it. Tons of rabid fans love this. There's a meaning behind it, but of course he didn't really need that motivation. He's a pro. He's world class in writing. His monologues in Andor are at the very top of all time Star Wars stuff. So it's he's an incredible talent, and I'm glad he's on our side. Um, Eric says, "What movie is planned to be released in 3035?" Eric says 2025. Lots of laughs. So I think right now the information that we got is it's going to be the Charmaine Obaid Chinoy film with Daisy Ridley as Rey Skywalker, 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, which, if you put your executive hat on, puts Grogu at age 91. So there were rumors out there saying, "Oh, Lucasfilm wants to couple Grogu and Rey Skywalker in some type of
What?
adventure." And now,
Oh, and an adventure. I thought you meant couple them like they're going to be dating. I was like,
not ship them, just have them in the same movie. That would quickly become the Baby Yoda film, and Daisy Ridley would take like side billing. I think if that would happen, um, and if Grogu is bigger, walking, talking, wielding maybe the dark saber, that would be pretty amazing. Just to get the evolution, I think, of that species, Yoda species, to be a young version, walking and talking and being more athletic and wielding like a huge weapon like the dark saber. That would be very interesting, and I would really be fascinated to see something like that on screen, move, walk, and talk, and breathe, and act with other actors. I think we have the technology to do it for maybe kind of what Sean Gunn did for Guardians of the Galaxy, where he mocapped Rocket Raccoon. You have
mm,
a normal motion capture actor like an Andy Serkis. Wouldn't that be incredible if Andy Serkis motion captured
Grogu.
Grogu? And yeah, just have that play out, and I think that would be incredible. But you would have to have like Andy Serkis have a belt buckle with Grogu's head on it, so Daisy Ridley would have to look down there. But yeah, I actually met Andy Serkis too at London at Star Wars Celebration Europe, and he was awesome. It's so weird now meeting these people because I've had the luxury and the blessing to meet so many of these people now.
Yep.
It just doesn't hit the same way as it used to. It's like, oh my god, it's Andy Serkis sitting right in front of me, and I'm like looking at him. I was like, that's so crazy. I've seen this guy on my TV screen for decades now, and heard his voice, and he's just one of us just talking. He seemed like a very normal guy. I think he had his son with him, kind of helping out a little bit, and then once Andy came out, his son just went to the back and just got on his phone, was like playing games. But yeah, Andy Serkis feels like a very kind of almost typical Englishman, but he's freaking Andy Serkis. He's
He's so
Gollum.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he's Gollum, he's Caesar, he's King Kong. The list goes on and on and on. And of course, Kino Loy, One Way Out. He's Snoke. I mean, I'm missing a ton of people. He's
He's just incredible. He
yeah.
was so good as Kino Lloyd too. I mean, honestly, he
Yeah,
just
so one of the cool things, when Colin and I took the picture with him, and I have the picture over here. Um, Colin goes, "Should I do my Gollum impression to him?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Colin has a really great Gollum impression. He does the impression
Off.
right to Andy Serkis's face, and Andy Serkis goes, "Wow, that's actually
So
pretty good." And I'm just like tickled, trying not to like laugh, trying to get some words out. And I simply just tell Andy, I was like, "We love you so much, Andy." And then we're taking the picture, and he goes, "Oh," and we take the picture, and that was a real cool moment. The first time I got to meet Andy. So yeah, that's my little story from Celebration. Uh, Jorge says people love Diego too. He seems to get it too. Yes, I love that you phrased it that way. Actors that get it, producers, directors, writers that get Star Wars, that get the vibe of Celebration, that get the showmanship and just the overall um, feel for what the material is, what the fandom is all about, and that they go to celebrations. That's the great thing about a lot of these people, that they actually go to Celebration, do the panels, do the signings. Um, a lot of like Cass Andor didn't do the signing or photo ops because he's actually working right now. He's actually trying to do Andor season 2, and he's also an executive producer, I believe. So he has say in what happens, which is an incredible thing. Um, but yeah, I really love the fact that Genevieve O'Reilly got on the celebration stage. The rest of the cast of Andor also got on the stage. Um, and Favreau, Filoni was there. They were in it. Hayden Christensen went up there by himself. Ewan McGregor did that whole kind of impromptu walk out on stage, address the fans randomly. Um, and you can tell he's loving it now. Like he's for sure
yeah,
deep into visiting Celebration when it comes around and making a point. And now his wife, who is Mary Elizabeth Winstead, is now a huge character in Star Wars. She's playing Hera. He has even more reason now to show up to Celebration because she's got a burgeoning Star Wars career.
yep.
So Jorge says, I only saw on YouTube. Did Kathleen get booed at Celebration? That's a good question. That was one thing I think we were all wondering if she was going to get booed. I was in the Twin Sons stage, which wasn't the live stage. I didn't hear any booing in my room, and I didn't really hear any booing uh, on the celebration stage audio. I was kind of interested to see that, but I did hear at D23 in Anaheim there were several boos out there. um, you could
You know,
also you could
she's
also say
because
that
we're a little further away from the sequel trilogy, and we've got Mando now and Andor, and things are starting to get better.
yeah.
Like, people aren't as angry. I think.
Yeah, and a lot of fans have fallen off and are doing different things and kind of not paying attention to Star Wars as well. You can say that too. But what I was about to say was, you could tell she got less applause. That's the one thing I kind of noticed in comparison to everyone else they brought out. But everyone else they bring out around her is like a star. It's like Diego Luna or Tony Gilroy's not a big star, but I mean, we gave him some good love for Andor. Maka says, I think I'm almost more excited for the Rey movie than the Mandoverse one. The Ray movie will be interesting because I think if they nail that movie, that sets up the future of Star Wars, and they really have to nail this movie because it's the new Jedi Order. They're gonna have to have characters in there that we're gonna have to fall in love with. I think they need to bring John Boyega back. I think that dude needs to be there, just for the simple
It
fact
wouldn't
that.
make sense if he wasn't.
Mm,
He's just gonna disappear.
yeah, you said it makes sense if he wasn't or was
It wouldn't make sense if he wasn't in the movie. He should
right,
be in the
right.
movie.
Yeah, I
Like,
totally
all
agree.
the character's just gonna disappear.
Yeah,
That's
he's
Gandalf.
Hey, what's up, Gandalf? Didn't think I'd say those words in a sentence today, but
Yeah.
here we are. Other developments though outside of Star Wars, Marvel, um, Jonathan Majors might not be King the
He's in
Conqueror
major
anymore.
problem.
Exactly. And one of the possible replacements that's high up on the list is John Boyega. So if John Boyega turns out to be King the Conqueror, um, we might not have him for Star Wars anymore.
I'm not seeing that, but okay.
Well, it seems like he's on a all the fans are making lists and short lists for possible Kang replacements, and John Boyega's up there.
I
Um,
see that happening.
but yeah, I do want John Boyega back in the new Jedi Order film just for the synergy, just to have him
Keep yelling
maybe
Ray.
Woody what?
You just want to keep hearing him yell Ray every 3 minutes.
Oh man, what's the over under on that? Um, well, they're 15 years older, so they're a little bit more wiser, a little less to be captured. Possibility. I mean, they will be Jedi, so it's not like they're like smugglers, like Han and a young version of themselves. Which I'm kind of wondering, are they going to age them up somehow, some way in the face, or
I don't
what
think they
exactly?
do. It'll be pretty much 15 years later than the last movie. So I think it'd be fine.
Jorge says he married Rose. Lots of laughs. Just kidding. Didn't he leave with Carlison?
I don't know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Jorge.
Yeah, Jorge agrees with this. Seems weird to leave that story out. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and I've talked about this before. When I was in Anaheim 2022, I went to the Ringerverse panel, and of course, the Ringerverse, they have a few black co-hosts, and there's a huge contingent of black fans, and they were trying to tell me, "Hey, look, we were disappointed with how John Boyega's story turned out. They gave us so much promise." And I'm like, yeah, that I can see that. I can totally see that. So, I mean, I would love to see that for him, but even though I really don't ever kind of factor in gender or race into the whole kind of equation for a Star Wars film or TV show, but I mean, we already got John Boyega. We already know he's force sensitive. Make him a Jedi. Bring him back. Pay him what he should be paid. I mean, he's a great actor. I think I think that is what the fans are kind of expecting at this point, and it would be kind of weird just to like leave him out. Um, how many Jedi do
Who knows?
exist at that time?
Uh, Gosh, who knows what? Sometimes Disney does not know what the heck they're doing. It's just like
Yeah,
the sequel trilogy was just so botched for me. So
yeah.
now they're gonna sequel trilogy of the sequel to the trilogy.
The sequel to the sequels. Yeah.
I'm like,
So
yeah, I'm not optimistic about it either.
yeah. So
Casey Ridley was fine, and I don't blame it on her. It's just that, gosh, I just didn't really care about any of those characters.
Jorge says to find that one lady's patents. Are there patents in Star Wars? Jorge says it's sad because it seems that John and Daisy's career was affected. Do you think? I don't think
Yeah, I
so.
mean, it happened. It happened to Mark Hamill. I think it happened to Carrie
The whole
Fisher.
typecasting thing. They've both been in different
Yeah,
stuff. I mean, I think Daisy was in the um, Orient Express film. She did that other Netflix film with Pedro Pascal, oddly in it. So yeah, Daisy Ridley hasn't done a whole lot. And John Boyega's done a few things. I think he did that movie Detroit with I think it was Catherine Bigelow. Um, yeah, I can't think of too many big projects. I think he was in the Woman King as well. I think Colin was telling me about his performance was really good. But yeah, Boyega is a really good actor. And I think Daisy is too. And that whole meeting at Lucasfilm, I knew there was something cooking up. Um,
I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, Darth Daniels agrees with you, Craig. Disney makes a bunch of weird decisions over and over and over and over. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how difficult it is to get a logical thing to occur and to get through the whole executive blockade they have and then get to the final boss and Kathleen Kennedy to get something greenlit. I imagine it's almost impossible. Um, we've talked about on the podcast a lot that Zack Snyder's doing that Rebel Moon film. So interesting development. We've learned some more news about that. So it wasn't Zack Snyder going to Lucasfilm to pitch Rebel Moon, and he never pitched it. It was George Lucas who went to Zack Snyder to do a Star Wars thing. And then it was in development, and then it got killed by the Disney regime, apparently. So Zack never went to Lucasfilm. He had a Star Wars project up and going, and then the Disney side of the house, whoever it was, I guess Kathleen Kennedy has the final say. She killed it, and then of course he took it to Netflix, and now it's going to be a big 2-part epic movie experience on Netflix. So we'll get to see it, but it won't be Star Wars related.
Hmm.
Um, Jorge says after all this, yeah. So yeah,
I'd just like to see Lucasfilm continue to hire really unique writers.
looks like Craig froze there.
I'm still here. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
okay. Yeah, you unfroze.
I was just saying Tony Gilroy has been fantastic. And Favreau, but it's unique and it's interesting and it's fun, but I wish it was a little bit sharper. But
Yeah, yeah. It seemed like they're very, very focused on season 1, season 2. But like I said earlier, they're now creating episode storytelling to lead to a certain part and a certain point in the timeline, and they have to interweave multiple characters and storylines, and it gets hard. It gets really, really hard. Jorge says, I feel like if they want money, maybe listen to the people that will pay. Ha ha ha. Us, the fan, they can easily find out what the fans want. I totally 100% agree with you. Um, if you looked at that big timeline they had up, it wasn't like a real announcement. They just had a Old Republic at the very end, and it's like, oh, why haven't we done anything there? It's like, come on, guys. Everyone would eat the Bane and Darth Revan stuff. I mean, they make the lightsaber for Darth Revan. They've made several of them now, and they're pretty decent seller apparently. So it's like, why don't we go there? Even if you do a remake of the Knights of the Old Republic video game, which was one of the greatest video games of all time, just give us that, you know?
I agree. Disney really, really almost fights to give people what they want. Instead
Yeah.
of just saying, yeah, we want you guys to be happy. They're like, no, 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 no. If you want to go to Batu, you're not going to see any characters you like there.
Well, now you can see Din
Finally,
Djarin. Yeah.
finally, Din Djarin was there, like, I don't know, in the last month or so, at least at Disney World. He
Yeah.
only started showing up like a month ago.
Yeah, like what is that? I don't get that. I mean,
It makes no sense. Nobody wants to see sequel trilogy Stormtroopers.
I like him. I mean, it's fine.
You quiet. We
But
want a trilogy.
yeah, it might be too little, too late now with that place with all the older fans that wanted original trilogy stuff, original trilogy Stormtroopers.
Why not
Maybe,
some like the Stormtroopers that we're seeing right now in Mandalorian with the, like those.
yeah, yeah. It's almost like Disney banked on the wrong.
Let's meet in the middle. Disney. Let's meet in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like Disney banked on the wrong part of the universe to do big business when it was the Mandalorian. They should have banked on this whole time.
Yeah, and now they need to do it. They got it. They gotta incorporate Mandalorian into the Star Wars hotel, and it's not hard for them to do. Just switch up the storyline a little bit. I'll go back. I'll go back. I'm not
Yeah,
sequel trilogy stuff though.
having the hotel and the park canon to where they're stuck in a certain time period between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, it's not the best strategy. They should have just made up straight up Star Wars land. They could have the OT, the prequels, and the sequels all in their separate spots, and then they could expand with the Mandalorian. I think that would have been really the way to go. But here we are. Um, going back to the comments here. Thank you so much, everyone, for commenting. Um, Jorge says, "I agree with Craig. There could get funky and different. A pod racing movie just be weird. Yeah, I mean, look at Visions. I mean, they did a lot of interesting things there. We're gonna get a Vision season 2 on May 4th, this Star Wars Day next month.
I didn't watch Visions. Is it good? Is it
I
decent?
liked it. There were some stories that were very like thought provoking, made you think about, okay, well, this would be really cool in live action, and it's kind of like a think tank in a way for Star Wars and how the Eastern world views Star Wars and how they can take Star Wars and create the storytelling. The storytelling I thought was really good. Um, I know people don't like or like different animation styles more than others, but for the most part, the stories were interesting, really, really interesting. Um, so I think you would like at least a couple of the stories. Um, so yeah, pod racing movie would be really cool. That'd be really unique. Um, Darth Dang says the story is going where it's made to, not where it wants to. Yeah. Joshua Hancock says, "Do we think John Williams will return to score the new Ray movie since he's decided he's not retiring just yet? And if not, who should do the music?"
He may do some of it.
It was really interesting to hear John Williams just say out loud, "I am the only composer that composes for Ray," and he basically said, "No, I'm doing the music for Ray." And then, of course, we all know that he was only supposed to do the music for The Force Awakens. And then he said, "No, I'm going to do the Ray music. And then now I'm going to score the whole thing for The Last Jedi. And then I'm officially retired. No, I'm not retired anymore. I'm doing Rise of Skywalker. I want to finish this new trilogy."
I
So,
mean, I mean, I don't want to say this, but like he's what, 90 already?
yeah. Yeah.
How old is he now? 90?
Um, Let me ask Siri. Hey, Siri, how old is John Williams?
John Williams is 91 years old.
91.
I mean, can he do it?
I think if he's still in the same health he is now, I think he could do it.
And
Maybe
you're
not travel to Orlando again, but
you know what I mean? Like when you're 91, like, well, I had two grandmas live to 90s. I
oh
had one
wow.
94 and one that lived to, actually, they both lived to 94 and one was close to 95. And, you know, how the hell could you be doing that at 90? Because he'll be 94 at that
Right.
point.
Right. Well, I mean, if he's kept up with his health, I mean, you look at his life as he's lived a very charmed life. Greatest composer of all time. I don't I mean, who gets close to him? I mean, he's like a modern day Mozart in a way. He's our answer to classical greats, you know? So, I mean, who's even close to him? I mean, like maybe Hans Zimmer possibly?
I
Um,
would say it's unlikely.
yeah, but I think he could do it. I'm optimistic on that one because
Well, you know, David,
that's
we're
what he does. That
two years.
when you're that old too, um, I've noticed I'm 41, and I've noticed in my life that when older people have stuff to look forward to, they tend to live a little longer, as
Sure.
opposed to if they retire at a really old age, they tend to maybe pass away quicker. Um, so maybe he's already looking forward to it. Maybe they already contacted him and have told him, "Hey, you got the job. There's no question." And maybe he's already writing. um, Darth Dang says, "Get characters in there from all eras and cut back on Ray." I don't think you have to cut back on Ray, but I definitely think get characters from all eras up in there. That would be really cool to have Solo with Chewie walking around and BB-8 and R2, 3PO walking around. Super hot in the summer though for 3PO, but I think if you could somehow cordon off the land and have a section where it's Hoth and actually make the air cold. I think that would be really cool.
I was just gonna say like some kind of meet and greet area.
Yeah, yeah. They have that one section. What's it called? Star Wars Connections or something like that.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
That one area of the park.
Here's one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've had.
old area, but it's not near Galaxy's Edge. It's on the other
Yeah,
part.
unfortunately, no. Yeah, I agree. Darth Things, get a pod racing ride. That would be really cool.
How about something with a mythosaur?
Yeah,
You know, escape of the mythosaur, and you're like, you know what I mean? You're chasing
yeah,
around or something.
yeah. Which could be one of the new Star Tours possibilities because they're changing up the locations. They announced that at Celebration.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, yeah. So we could maybe get like a Navarro planet we go to.
That's great. Take a
Yeah, we can make a whole lot
last
more Mandalorian stuff. Yeah.
every time I go now, it's the stupid crate planet, and I have time to get uh, last.
That darn Kylo Ren.
I'm like, "Argh."
Yeah, Star Tours is a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, why don't should make it Mandalorian timeline?
Yeah, yeah. Fly on the Razor Crest, fly in the N1 Starfighter.
You see, yeah, Boba Fett flying around.
Yeah. Going up against Moff Gideon, just replace Vader and Kylo with Moff Gideon, putting on the horned helmets.
That would be a great and cheap way to refurbish that ride.
Yeah, yeah. I think so too. But I think that's going to happen for sure. And if it doesn't happen, that'd be crazy. Eric Ibarra says, "Oh, Dom and the gang in a pod racing film. Sign me up. Pod racing is really popular." Joshua Hancock says, "I really enjoyed John Powell's work on Solo. I did too. A lot of his composing, even other films, is very John Williams-esque." Yes, I think John Powell, who's he did the scoring for How to Train Your Dragon, but especially the stuff he did for Solo composing, he did a really good job. And I think he talked about how he respects John Williams and how it was kind of a dream to work on the Solo score. And a couple years after Solo released, they released a larger piece of work from the Solo score that we did get to hear in the movie, which was interesting. So he definitely really got into the writing of the scoring of Solo. Jorge says, "I like the guy that scores The Mandalorian. I forgot his name, but he's good. That is Ludwig Göransson. That guy, I think he is quickly moving up in the film composer leveling there in his career because he's doing the Christopher Nolan film Oppenheimer, and he passed the baton to Joseph Shirley, who he's worked with before, and he gave us the Book of Boba Fett scoring, and Joseph Shirley scored the Mandalorian season 3, what we're watching now. So I think Ludwig, and he's a very young man too. I think he might be in his early 30s. Let me ask. Hey Siri, how old is Ludwig Göransson?
Ludwig Göransson is 38 years old.
Oh, he's 38. He's a little bit older than I thought. But he was actually roommates with Ryan Coogler in college. And they got really close. So Ludwig started scoring all of his stuff, and then he won the Academy Award for Black Panther. Maka says, "I feel we have to get the Mythosaur this episode." Yeah, I think we will get some Mythosaur action. I don't see any other way than Grogu taming the Mythosaur, talking to the Mythosaur via the Force, a lot like what he did in the Book of Boba Fett with the Rancor. I think it's just kind of the only way to do it, unless the Mythosaur gets released and he just runs like a bull in a china shop and just destroys everything that Moff Gideon has purchased from the Shadow Council. Jorge says, "Yeah, Grogu will probably mind control him and help with the Mythosaur." Yeah, I don't see any other way around it other than if the Mythosaur just becomes like a kamikaze attack and is like a Deus Ex Machina type of in time of need. He just kind of like accidentally wins the battle. Um, so yeah, we have about, let's see,
Half an hour.
yeah, about half an hour.
Does anybody think?
Morning, Liam.
Does anybody think that Luke will show up this episode? Anybody think Luke?
If we didn't get the film announcement with Filoni and the climactic event thing, I think we're getting Luke there. I think we're getting Luke there, and we might get Luke in the Ahsoka show. But we have the
Don't
technology.
think he's going to show up tonight, but
You don't think?
I don't think he's going to show up tonight. No.
Okay. So Joshua Hancock says, do we see any potential for an appearance from Jar Jar? Not necessarily in The Mandalorian, but since they had Ahmed Best on set, do we think they took advantage of the opportunity? Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because the big question is, who did Ahmed Best take Grogu to? So a lot of people are speculating that he took him to Naboo. And there's a lot of rumors saying we're going to visit Naboo this season. Last episode, this is the only chance we get to visit Naboo now.
Would we really see a flashback in the season finale though?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that would fit.
We're only looking at a 38-minute episode here.
Yeah. Maybe if there are some key story elements for that, and it plays into the current time in The Mandalorian, possibly. I don't know. But that would be a very, very big rumor debunked if we don't go to Naboo, because that was like the whole big, like, shocking revelation that we got even before the series, like maybe like a year before. They're like, we're going to Naboo, we're getting the N1 Starfighter, and we got the N1 Starfighter, but no Naboo stuff. Jorge says Din rides it and creates conflict with the Mandalorians.
I don't see that happening.
I don't see anyone riding it. I mean, unless they somehow mistakenly write it, which I don't know. I don't think they would do that. Darth Thing says, I say no to Luke. Eric says no to Luke. Liam also says, I don't think Luke will show up. Jorge says no to Luke. Liam says, is it only 38 minutes? What the hell? Yeah.
I know. Isn't that frustrating?
That is sort of a bummer.
All right. So what about Boba? Does anybody think Boba Fett's going to show up?
Darth Thing says it's going to be a hot mess regardless of what happens. I mean, Boba Fett's helmet was on the cover of that Empire magazine. It was there, man. It's right there along with all the other Mando helmets. So is that a clue to where he's going to ride in on the slave one and save the day? Him and Cobb Vanth. That'd be pretty crazy. Jorge says no to Boba. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think Boba's going to show up either. My prediction is still the Ghost.
Yeah, I think Joshua Hancock is in tune with you there. I think Boba's possible. Maybe Sabine or Ahsoka. I think we might get some Rebels.
Possible.
To lead into the August release of Ahsoka.
I kind of feel like we're not going to see Sabine.
Well, I mean, you think about the timeline of events, of announcements. Natasha Liu Bordizzo was announced as Sabine before everyone. So I don't know if that plays into her possibly being in this finale. I don't know. Eric says Boba's a popular pick, but I don't think so. Jorge says this episode or the episode. Darth Thing says Ghost Crew makes most sense. Jorge says I agree with the Ghost. Liam says I don't think there will be a big character coming. I still see Grogu getting shot on his new armor to save Din, maybe. Yeah, I kind of see maybe Grogu taking a laser blast right to the chest on his new Mudhorn signet plating that the armorer gave him. Joshua Hancock says, I'm hoping for at least an after credit scene with Thrawn. So Thrawn is a major point of topic and discussion, of course. We got to, if you saw the Ahsoka trailer, which I think we all have, we saw the back of him, and if you got to be in that panel, you got to see Thrawn live with his head 50 feet tall on that big screen. I'm surprised at how much Lars Mikkelsen looks like Elon Musk. I saw a lot of Elon comments.
I could see
I
it. I let you say it.
yeah. I put out a post from Galactic Transmissions that stated that Lars Mikkelsen took about 2 to 3 hours a day to get in Thrawn makeup, and it helped him get in character. He's not wearing the full eyeball, I think, sclera contacts. He's just wearing the traditional, like, red contacts, and then digitally they're making the rest of his eyes glow red. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit. But yeah, he said the contacts, he had normal vision. He did an interview right after the Ahsoka panel at Celebration where he talked to comicbook.com, and he addressed that. And he talked about how he had to hide the fact that he was Thrawn. He told all of his family, and we all were kind of reporting that he was probably Thrawn. It makes a lot of sense. The voice synergy, a lot like Katie Sackhoff and Bo-Katan, is there, and apparently he's a full-fledged actor, and maybe Filoni doing Rebels had the notion that maybe this guy could play live action Thrawn, and here we are. Jorge says
I
somehow
feel like,
Palpatine returned.
I feel like we're gonna maybe hear Thrawn's voice, or like see it in a way so you can't really see him, so it kind of like builds it up. But I don't
I can
think
see that.
like see him like talking or anything. But I could see that happening in after credits.
I could see them putting the camera right on him, like on a throne, and just like having the camera just like close in on him, and he's like addressing someone or something.
Colin, get out of the men's room.
Jorge says somehow Palpatine returned, and now everything has to lead to that line to clean up the mess. It is leading up to that line. I mean, you can clearly see it. Project Necromancer. That's basically to revive Palpatine. I think that's and they said as much before season 1. We're leading up to the beginnings of the First Order, so that's what's happening. Liam McCallion. If there's no big character and no Thrawn at the end, I will be overall very disappointed with the season. It would be a little shocking if we didn't get a nice little jolt in there, a nice little surprise, something. Maybe not just a twist, but maybe like a nice character appearance. That, I mean, all signs point to Thrawn. I mean, they mentioned him so many times in Celebration. They mentioned him in the previous episode. However, in the episode, they mentioned that he was not present. Where is he? They were looking for him. Moff Gideon was like, well, we need to look to new leadership. But I think Thrawn, his presence, I think, is going to be felt tonight. Schletsky says maybe some flashback Darth Maul. That's a possibility. Because with the horns, with the Mandalorians, Craig, the armor,
Okay.
Gideon's inspiration, possibly. Jorge says 2 more years for the next season, or will it be out sooner? Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to be about 2 more years.
Brutal.
So, yeah, it's a shame.
Brutal.
So 2025, when Celebration comes back around, we'll get those Mandalorian actors to appear in Japan, possibly, along with the Daisy Ridley-led New Jedi Order film in Japan. So we'll have some people there. Micah says, I think. Go ahead, Craig.
Painful to think it's going to be another 2 years.
It's going to go by quick, but then again, we'll be 2 years older, which is not fun. But Micah says, I think whoever finds out about the cloning will die, and that's how we get somehow Palpatine returned, because it's absolute top secret. Rest in peace, Bad Batch. it was interesting when Moff Gideon brought up, "I'm taking the best of all three people, the Jedi, the Mandalorians," and he threw in the cloners.
Yep.
So cloning still has a very solid through line in the storytelling.
Had you not killed all the cloners, you'd have some. Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
They killed the cloners, and now all they're trying to do is figure out how to clone.
Yeah. Liam says, "Is everyone still agreeing that the armor is still some kind of spy?" I think everyone is agreeing that she's either a spy or she is a misdirect somehow, because it's so like obvious, and like the shots and the convenience of her leaving the battle, the ambush, and the suits being made out of Beskar, and the armor fabricates Beskar. I mean, it almost feels like it's too easy to pin her being a spy. So I don't know. There's that, and of
Something
course,
gotta happen though this episode, right?
yeah, yeah, you got to figure there's going to be a huge revelation. I would love to see some kind of armor reveal finally. I mean, it's been 3 seasons. We don't really know who she is. She's never taken off her helmet. Maybe her helmet gets knocked off in battle. I don't know. Maybe we find out her true identity. Maybe it's Rook Cast, which is a popular theory that she's essentially a Mandalorian, which would make sense. Maybe she is Rook Cast. Maybe she changed her ways. Maybe she is on the good side, a lot like how Bo Katan's interpretation for this season was going to go. We all thought she was going to be the villain. She was going to be evil, but she's been nothing but good this whole season and very moral. Joshua Hancock states, "I think Thrawn could appear and kill Moff Gideon to set him up as the new big bad." You think we could have Lars Mikkelsen in dual series simultaneously? Or maybe not simultaneously, but one right after the other. Because I would think I'd have to really think about that. Because, like we all stated, these series are all going to meet up as a film directed by Filoni. And if you look at the timelines, I'm thinking now, when does the Ahsoka show happen during the Mando timeline? Is it happening
We don't know.
concurrently with season 3? I'm not quite sure.
I think part of it is going to be flashbacks.
Right. The rumor is half of that season is going to be Clone Wars flashbacks, possibly.
And then part of it will be present day.
Yeah.
So
Eric says, "How do they get the heir to the Empire story from Legends blend with canon that will satisfy the fan base? If that's even possible." I think they're going to take elements for sure. Filoni, we all know, is a fan of Heir to the Empire and the Timothy Thrawn novels. So I think there's going to be elements, but you got to work it into live action. And you really can never take an adaptation from a comic or a novel and make it the same thing in live action. It never happens. There's no way to do it. Either no way to do it or no one's attempted it. I think the closest thing we've seen was maybe like the Watchmen film, but that even made drastic changes. Jorge says, "She a spy. Maybe her and Moff know each other from serving Maul." Yeah. I mean, the horns on the helmet. I mean, that's kind of like the big clue to her past and her past allegiances, probably. But then again, I mean, she could be reformed. She could be on the good side permanently. Maka says maybe she's a spy, but she was kind of forced to, and she will sacrifice herself for the team. That's a possibility too. That would not be great for Emily Swallow, but yeah. It just feels right now that someone is gonna bite the bullet. Someone is gonna leave the show. Jorge State said the episode was called "The Spies," and she was in that episode. Yeah, I mean, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4 spies, it could be maybe all those Mandalorians. Maybe there was like a kind of a long game being implemented, and all the mercenary Mandalorians are actually playing the Children of the Watch and the cult, so to speak. Liam says, "Do we know when the Ahsoka show is going to happen in the timeline?" No, I don't think we do. Let me search it up. And does the happen in the Okay, well, Google has a quick response here. It says Ahsoka's search will be set in the New Republic era 5 or so years after Return of the Jedi, which is the same era as the first season of The Mandalorian. As we've seen in The Mandalorian, the Republic's attempt to restore law and order is already in trouble. It allows Imperial remnants to fester. So, not a very clear answer, but
David, what would you like to see happen tonight?
I would like to see some good storytelling happen tonight. I've already stopped trying to imagine what I would like to see because it's always something that we do end up getting that doesn't match up with what my brain just automatically tricks myself into thinking this would be the best way to get what they're about to give us. And then there's a little bit of like a disappointment factor built into that. So I kind of stopped predicting, oh, the Mythosaur needs to come out. Grogu needs to tame it. Then Bo-Katan rides it with the Darksaber. I mean, you think like that, I think you just set yourself up for disappointment. So I kind of just let and give trust and faith to Filoni and Favreau. And that's why I think I haven't had that much trouble with this season. That Lizzo and Jack Black episode, though, was kind of rough. But and I knew fans would have a huge issue with that episode.
I thought it was painful. I was thinking, what the heck am I watching? This is nuts.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
What do I want to see? I want to see the ghost show up because I think that makes the most logical sense. If they could make it make sense where Boba Fett shows up, I'd be happy with that. And as much as I love Luke, if they could, I mean, it'd have to really make sense to get Luke in there. But I obviously that would be amazing. But I don't want it to feel like season 2 finale, where it's like Luke coming and so I don't know. I would love to see some of the other heroes that we haven't got to see this season, Boba Fett, Luke, Ahsoka, show up, the Ghost show up, if they can make it make sense.
In a way, they kind of have a storytelling cheat because Grogu could just simply communicate through the Force.
Exactly.
And maybe call it maybe like an older Cal Kestis type figure to show up. That would be interesting. He could ring up Luke, and then Luke not home. Who's the next Jedi in line? That's a possibility. If all seems like dire and they need help, I mean, I could totally. And Grogu is growing with his Force powers and his strength. Maybe he doesn't need that rock to sit on Tython to communicate with other Jedi and Force users. I mean, Malka says, I would love Boba, but I just don't see how they would get him.
The Praetorians will be in action somehow.
Yeah, I wonder if any challenge the Praetorians would give Luke in a battle. 3-on-1, maybe? Maybe they could live a little while.
It would be great if he tore him up just like he did the Dark.
Not even a challenge. He's just like casually just turning on the lightsaber, walking through.
That would that I'd love to see.
Yeah. So Joshua Hancock says, "My way of making myself okay with whatever happens, and this helped with the sequels, is just to view it like a history of what happened. Like real history is not always good, but it's what happened." Yeah, I think that's a real positive way to look at it because I mean, think about it. I mean, we do have fans creating this stuff, and of course, when you talk to other fans, they have other ideas, other motives, different backgrounds, and that all factors into the equation of what they're making at Disney, Lucasfilm for Star Wars, and all different ages, experiences, many hands in the pot cooking the meal, and sometimes they make the best decisions and sometimes they don't. Um, it's just what the creators have, and there's executive level decisions or storytelling decisions. There's all kinds of factors that go into giving us the end product, and it's super hard to make a film, to make a TV show. It's almost impossible to make a good film, a good TV show. So I always consider that and getting what we get. I mean, it's an ultra hard, very kind of a process that you can't just read it from a textbook and just do it. There's a certain level of like alchemy and magic and luck, and I know the Star Wars teaches us there's no such thing as luck, but there's coincidences. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, there's a lot that has to go in to make something universally accepted and successful. So, I mean, I look at it that way. That's my viewpoint. Liam says, "I think if they keep bringing big characters back to save the day, it's kind of underwhelming or undermining the characters they have built up." Yeah, I agree with that, Liam. I don't think they want to do that again. So that's I think one of the biggest reasons why like a savior type character is not going to show up. Um, Jorge says, "Does Disney think that we, the fans, have an issue with recasting original characters? I'm sorry, all the CGI creeps me out." CGI doesn't creep me out too much. What do you think, Craig?
I'll take CGI over recasting any day. I do not want to see Luke, Han, Leia recast in any way, shape, or form. We've already seen it with Solo, and from me, I'll take the CGI. It's not perfect, but look at how much better it looked in Book of Boba Fett over even Mandalorian, and that was only a couple years difference. How good will it look 3 years from now?
And I think you really do have to give Lucasfilm credit in that they hired that YouTuber that went by the name Shamook, who did the deep fakes for Solo, put Harrison Ford's face on Alden Ehrenreich, and put Billy D. Williams' face on Donald Glover, and really made it look really, really, really almost like something that Lucasfilm you would think created, but he did that like in his house on his PC. Then they brought him in, they hired him, they recognized that yeah, we're lacking in this department, and they used him in the Book of Boba Fett, and I think it turned out fantastic.
It looked great.
Yeah,
And that came out what, last year, a year and a half ago.
yeah,
So how good will it look 2 years from now?
yeah. And you get into the whole realm of AI and Chat GPT and Mid Journey and all this stuff that's getting a little frightening.
Yeah, it really is. I don't want to see anybody recast. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
I don't, especially Luke. That would make me nuts.
Although you have Sebastian Stan out there, what's your stance on him?
No,
No,
I
man.
like Sebastian Stan a lot, but I don't want any of the characters recast.
Okay.
Not
Um.
even R2D2.
So Maka says you had to figure you need to one up the previous season finale. So I just wonder how do we one up Luke's turn? Han and Chewie and the Falcon, baby. that's the only thing I can see.
With Luke.
Or yeah, I was about to say that.
And the
Han, Chewie with Luke, with Leia, with X. Yeah, that would be wild. Yeah, I mean, It's right after Return of the Jedi. I mean,
I
the
I don't think
Falcon's out there.
season 2 finale. I would be I would be my jaw my I would be passed out on the floor if they topped that finale, because that was the greatest TV episode I've ever seen. For me,
Yeah,
personally.
yeah,
That's my favorite TV episode
yeah,
ever.
yeah.
So,
I think my laptop has frozen up here. Can you still see me moving?
yes, I could see you and
Okay,
hear you.
cool. Yeah, sometimes that happens. I think this last update for the MacBooks, it was not that great, and I think the subsequent updates haven't fixed the problem.
Hey, that's why your computer's freezing, right, David? Update. You see that? He's been downloading too much stuff. Colin sends him links. This is what's happening. Colin is sending him links. You don't want to know what happens. Computer freezes. I don't even know if I'm broadcasting. Can I broadcast by myself? He's got the computer. It's frozen. We know why. Am I talking to myself? Probably. I'm going to say goodbye. May the force be with you. Maybe we'll be back. Who knows? Maybe the force sent a disturbance so we'd say, get off the air. Can anybody hear me? I don't know. I can't see any comments.
And I'm back, and I think Craig just left. Sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties on our side. I'll just go through these last comments. We're pretty much almost done here with the pre-show. The episode drops in 9 minutes. Jorge says Sebastian Stan, Luke. We already have Han and Leia. Could be played by her daughter. I don't think they'd go that route. I don't think Billy Lord and Carrie Fisher's daughter would want to do that, but I could be wrong. Possibility. She did play her as a body reference in The Rise of Skywalker during the Luke and Leia lightsaber scene, and they just put her mom's face on her face. Liam says I rewatched Rogue One the other day, and the Tarkin and Leia are painful compared to now. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree that it's painful, but you can see the stitching. You can see that it's clearly not Peter Cushing, clearly not Carrie Fisher, that they did some type of CGI work, which was really, really good, really revolutionary. But yeah, it's not the absolute best that we get these days in 2023. We've seen Luke in the Book of Boba Fett, and they did a spectacular job with that, as Craig was referring to. Jorge says the Falcon would be awesome. Ha ha ha. I would love that. It. I think Lucasfilm almost gets a cheat with me if they get to just show us the Falcon with Han and Chewie, Luke and Leia. Oh my gosh. Liam says, yeah, well, we're having technical difficulties there. He said, yeah, we can hear you, Craig. Mike says, we hear you. Craig left, though. Jorge says, how do I join the Patreon? I love your guys' podcast. Thank you so much, Jorge. There's a couple ways that you can join. We have this link right here. If you go to patreon.com, we're at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. You'll clearly see our logo up there. And I'm glad you brought up Patreon. We have a boatload of stuff that we're about to drop. We're doing Clone Wars commentaries with Colin, Hunter, and Josh, who are huge Clone Wars fans from the beginning. They love the experience of doing the Bad Batch breakdowns, and now they want to come back and do Patreon only content for reviews. And they got the first one done. I just have to upload it. I'm trying to think of maybe doing some type of special intro for it. And yeah, they're going to do that once a week, maybe go through a couple episodes. But yeah, Patreon. We haven't been doing the Patreon daily stuff as much We were in London. Like I said, we got kind of exhausted. We started doing the whole sightseeing thing in London, and we tried streaming. Colin's Hotel wasn't great, so I think one of those episodes that we recorded that you can watch on YouTube that I've yet to release on audio only. It's just basically me talking for like an hour and addressing questions a lot like here. Um, but yeah, if anyone wants to go support us, um, essentially that money goes to paying the taxes, which I just did, which were insane. Um, and helping us get to places like Celebration, helping us create swag. I have like a whole bag right here, right next to me, actually. Um, you can see the old school magnets. It's Darth Vader. We have stickers that we created for. You can see that Stuff Pod and the Bad Batch font. Colin made his business cards, so there's those too. We made pins back in the day. Reason why we didn't make pins or coins this time around was I wasn't sure if I was going to go to Celebration and we were going to use some of those funds to fund London because of how expensive it was. And we were able to do that and get coverage, and we don't want to miss a Celebration. And on our Black tier, we do purchase items that we try to do unboxing videos. Sometimes we can't get around to, and we just kind of have a rolling list of Black tier people, and we ask everyone on that rolling list if they want this certain thing. If they don't, they can pass it up, and we'll go to the next person. We give it away helmets. I think we just did a Bo-Katan helmet, like the one you see right there. We've done a Vader helmet. We've done what else have we done? I'm trying to think hard on this because Colin will send it straight from Galaxy's Edge in Orlando, and of course he gets a little bit of a discount there. But yeah, and we try and send everyone our latest merch. I think we're going to do a little mail out here. It's going to be envelopes. So make sure if you're on Patreon listening to us, make sure your address is up to date. I know a couple people have moved, so I don't want to send out stuff that it doesn't get to you. So I always want that verified. But yeah, we're going to try and do as much stuff. And then it's going to be kind of like an off season for us with no Mandalorian, no current running show. So we're going to do a lot of extra stuff on the side. The news is going to be prevalent still. That's the one thing about Star Wars. New news drops every day, every week. We'll talk about that. We'll probably do some trivia in the future. And I have a whole bunch of Our Stories episodes that I can that I'll probably be loading up here pretty soon on Patreon. And Colin just did that really cool interview with Davin from Galaxy Tours. And so yeah. So I just got a notification, new subscriber, Erica Dobson. Thank you so much for subscribing. We're trying to get bigger on YouTube. The bigger we get, the more stuff we can do, the more hosts we can have. And yeah, it's about time to watch this season finale. So I'll fly through these comments here. I lost my part here. Oh, Jorge, how do I join Patreon? I just said you can see that rolling ticker there. Free Japan trip celebration. I hope we get that big to be to get a free celebration trip. But I don't know. You never know. Never know. We might by that time it'll be 2 years in. Might be a whole lot bigger. It's just kind of also juggling our time too. We all have full-time jobs. We all have families. I think every single person is now married, and some people might be expecting children along the way. So might be a whole lot of me doing stuff here. Liam says, "Oh, I'd love the Clone Wars reviewed. I'm looking forward to that." Yeah, with Hunter and Josh on there, I think it would be really fun to get their insight because they're all up on the Clone Wars. They cosplay as Clone Wars characters. Micah says, "I recommend the Black Tier. I received Babu Frick and Monkey Lizard." Yeah, the Babu Frick and Monkey Lizard came straight from Galaxy's Edge, and Yeah, they're pretty cool. I have the Babu. I actually have both. I bought this one when I went May 4th, and I think the Babu Frick is somewhere. It's like a Where's Waldo behind me, somewhere back there. Oh, right there. There's a Babu Frick right there behind the Mythosaur skull, right on brand. Yeah, Liam, we want to do a Star Wars trivia quiz night thing. That would be pretty cool. The show was kind of founded on trivia in a way, you could say. So, but yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go. The episode drops in a minute, so I will try and come back. Oh, and Maka says he got a Camtono too from Galaxy's Edge, which is really cool. My Camtono is somewhere around here. I don't know. I bought one too. So yeah, Star Wars Kahoot game. Cool. Ted saying yes. He's probably already watching the recap. So I will let you guys go. Hopefully Ted will be on the post show. He can give his thoughts, and I will see you on the other side.